It's not much money, but it would have kept the agency in a good shape and able to absorb a cut. Some of these trips were just, they're very questionable. They may not be illegal, but they're questionable.
We feel like the luckiest people in the world. So everything's gone perfect, and he hadn't had it one problem, and neither have I, and natural delivery and good baby.
Infertility is an extremely frustrating experience, and so we can't see anything but good from this.
All of the phone calls and campaign slogans have been used, and now it's up to the voters to decide the fate of parimutuel racing in Oklahoma County. Supporters say they have done everything possible to get the measure passed.
I don't think we missed anything. We did all the media that we could do. We had all the newspaper ads that we could get in. With what budget we had to work with, we felt that we ran a very decent campaign and should have reached as many supporters as we had during the petition drive. We had phone banks running, so we did all the things necessary in order to win.
The upcoming liquor by the drink vote may have an effect on today's parimutuel decision. Opposition leaders are urging their followers to take the same feelings they have about liquor by the drink and apply them to legalize gambling.
You have to understand that we lost this election 2 years ago when it was statewide. We lost it really in Oklahoma City and in Tulsa. Those were the two main areas that we lost it. I would also believe that we lose it again if it were not for one factor, and that is they have timed this just at the point of the liquor by the drink issue. Now, Christian people all over the city are really getting geared up against the liquor by the drink vote.
Voter turnout could be the key for both sides. Supporters say a good turnout will mean victory. Otherwise, it will come down to the wire. Kevin Ogle, News 4.
The heat index is based on a combination of temperature and humidity.
And today that index tells you?
Today that index tells us that you're going to be in the very hot zone, and that people who are not used to it, who exert themselves, are quite likely to become ill.
It happened just after 5 p.m. today. As rush hour residents returned home, air conditioners went on, and Old Man Summer made his presence known. OG&E hit a new all-time consumption peak. A couple 100,000 kilowatts shy of 5 million were being used, about 1 million shy of capacity. And although electric bills go up on days like today, the chances of power failure due to overload are remote.
If something broke down, which isn't likely, it's a rarity when it does, but if something did, we'd just have to buy from the grid, you know, the system, as it were, across the country. And that's generally pretty easy to do. We just call up somebody and say we'd like to purchase so many, you know, thousands of kilowatts.
Electric companies, it's good to know, can handle the heat. Human bodies, on the other hand, cannot. Health officials warn the elderly and sick to stay indoors while the temperatures top the century mark. Even young and healthy people should be sensible. Intense heat, after all, is more than just annoying. It's deadly. Dan Slocum, News 4.
We've been having a real slack period of food donations and money, but we have just as many requests for food baskets. People usually think of Thanksgiving and Christmas when it's about food, you know, and we have about 40 or 50 requests a day for food baskets, as well as the people we serve in the food line every day, and that takes a lot of food to keep that up.
At first glance, this rodeo looks just like any other. The slippery mud might seem like the only thing that would set it apart, and sure enough, the spectators that attended dressed for the downpour that soaked most of the events. But those that did come wanted to watch a special kind of cowboy.
I just heard that it was really rough and tough, you know, that it was just the guys, you know, they just had nothing to lose, and so they really put on a show.
They have nothing to lose because these cowboys are also convicts, inmates at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary. Every year they get this one chance to literally bust out on the bucking Broncos and compete against the cons from other institutions.
How do you get off one of these son of a gun?
Obviously, some rode before they went behind bars, but every team practices months before the rodeo on mechanical bulls. And officials at the state pen say everybody takes this very seriously.
It's the challenge. There's no skill with most of the inmates as far as rodeo. And it's just sheer guts and desire to try to perform as a cowboy.
How good do they do?
Some of them do real good.
The money raised at this rodeo will only pay for the horses and saddles and rope. So as long as just egos get hurt, they'll ride him again next year or until parole comes through. Bob Donaldson, News 4 in McAllister. Business at Continental ticket counters slowed to a standstill as the shutdown approached. The lines that used to form at these counters made profits for the airlines, but after filing for bankruptcy last year, Continental eliminated all but the most profitable routes. And even in 1984, the airline can't support the slower traffic.
Yes, Oklahoma was making money. It was profitable, but we simply feel that we can use our resources to a higher degree of profit at other markets.
Continental hopes those new markets will make more money than the Houston and Denver flights leaving from Will Rogers. The airline opens new service to Cincinnati and Milwaukee later this month. Oklahoma City passengers probably won't notice Continental's departure since other airlines will still fly the abandoned routes. But for the first time in 30 years, Continental will not be in their flight plan.
Yep, he is now.
Merged 140 nations until
out on the sand lots, out on the diamonds, all across this state, the field and track, they're in the gyms. There's all kinds of ways to cheer on these young men and women, not only represented here, but the thousands tonight who, because of them, are even more proud of their involvement.
Oklahoma is famous for its oil, gas, agriculture, animal husbandry, do you call that? I don't know whether, yeah. And these are the fields. China is also very much putting much emphasis on these fields.
Now they can pull out the billy clubs and go back to work with the billy clubs and the gas gun.
For more than a decade, a federal judge had been a watchdog guarding the state correction system. Judge Luther Bohannon ordered more than 150 prison changes during his oversight. However, last December, the federal court stepped down. The attorney representing Oklahoma's prison inmates came to court prepared to argue the federal judge dismissed the 11-year-old lawsuit prematurely. Tulsa attorney Lou Bullock argued that Oklahoma's prison conditions were deteriorating rapidly without federal court supervision. The Oklahoma Attorney General countered the state prison system had met constitutional requirements since 1981. The state attorney urged the appeals court to allow inmates to file a new lawsuit if prison conditions deteriorate to unconstitutional levels.
Our arguments were that we put on a case to show that the prison system was constitutional, that at the conclusion of that case, Judge Bohannon seemed to believe it was constitutional, and Judge C, on reviewing the record, agreed that it was constitutional.
We've got terrible problems still in idleness. We just had another institution burned. We again have the West Cell House occupied. The facts are that this system is in worse shape today than it was last year.
2 years ago, another Oklahoma City federal judge ordered the Little Axe School District to halt before-school prayer sessions. The school district appealed that judge's ruling. School attorney Bill Graves reminded the court the prayer sessions were strictly voluntary and that students had a right to religious freedom. The civil liberties attorney representing two parents of former Little Axe school children urged the appeals judges to uphold the lower court ruling. After 3.5 years of legal maneuvering, the mothers who brought the original suit are still dedicated to their original cause.
I'm more determined. I have seen, we have witnessed from different trips to Washington, D.C. and different political things, we have witnessed a turn towards this sort of thing. And as we've said before, we thought religion would be used in this presidential campaign, and it's coming true. So we have seen this, and we knew this was going to happen. We had a feeling about a year ago that this issue would be a big issue at this time.
When you don't have a 5-year-old little boy hanging around and under your feet all the time, yeah, it's very quiet.
We used to take walks together with the dog, all of us together in the evening.
5-year-old Danny Curran has been missing since August 2nd. He lived with his father and stepmother in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. It is believed he was abducted by his mother, Robin, and her new husband, Frank Faraday, in an elaborate and apparently well-planned scheme.
Well, she had him for a weekend visitation, and Sandy went to pick him up from school, and he wasn't there.
The Faradays lived in this house in Bowie, Maryland. Right before the abduction, Mr. Curran learned that Mr. Faraday quit his $40,000 a year job as a computer specialist and withdrew $25,000 of savings from a bank. The couple bought a camper and had trailer hitches put on 2 cars, a 1980 green VW Rabbit with Maryland license plates and a 1984 black Daytona with Virginia plates. They are believed to have headed north with both cars and the camper. Dan Curran's present wife, Sandy, is pregnant, but little Danny's disappearance has taken the joy out of that.
The baby right now, I know it's supposed to be my biggest concern, but unfortunately, Daniel's is missing, and that has a lot to do with it, you know.
He used to be actively involved in us going out and buying things for the baby and picking things out for the baby, and he was excited about being a big brother.
Robin Faraday is 24 years old, 6 feet tall, 140 pounds. She has red hair but may have dyed it black or is wearing a black wig. Frank Faraday is 6 feet 2, 175 pounds, balding, and sometimes wears wire-rimmed glasses. Faraday's daughter from a previous marriage is also believed to be with them. She is 7 years old, 4 feet tall, about 65 pounds, with waist-length blonde hair. And Danny Curran is 5 years old, 4 feet tall, 50 pounds, with blonde hair and blue eyes. Eyes that sparkle from pictures all over the Currans' home and haunt them.
I've tried to stay as strong as I can through all of this and not get too emotional and all, because that helps to cloud efforts to go ahead. If you do break down and let, that's more of a way of giving up, and we haven't done that and don't intend to.
Susan Kidd for NBC News, Washington.
The possibility that these 2 young girls will be taken from their father is a day-to-day reality for Ben Daves. His ex-wife, who now lives in California, has already had him arrested twice for child stealing, although Governor Nye refused to allow the state of California to extradite him on those charges. Those arrests have already caused him to be laid off once by the Edmond Police Department. Child stealing is a felony. Extradition on that charge was denied, though, after an Oklahoma court granted this father temporary custody because of evidence that his daughter's mother had neglected the girls and abused them in their California home.
It's hard for me to sit down and say to the girls, you know, something like, well, when you're 16, we'll buy you a car, or we'll help you get a car, because I don't know if we're going to be here when they get to be 16 or not.
Jennifer and Sarah Daves never enjoy what most children their age take for granted. They are not allowed to ride bicycles around the neighborhood without Ben or his new wife close by. They are driven to and from school every day for fear that Ben's ex-wife will come back to Oklahoma and try to take the children while they play outdoors.
But I'm doing what's best for my kids, and I know they're better off here. I can take care of them better. And I base that on statements made by people out there that have been close to the situation out there. I base that on statements that my girls have made.
What began as an amiable divorce has now become a battle of jurisdictions between two states, Oklahoma and California, and a battle that promises uncertainty and heartache to all parties involved. Terry Cook, News 4.
I got the back door open, and it was so dark, I couldn't see anything, so I just went in the van, which is upside down, as you can see, feeling for a body, hoping and praying I wouldn't find one.
At first glance, this would seem to be an unlikely setting for a parimutuel racetrack, Oklahoma City's Lincoln Park Zoo. The park offers everyone a chance to come and visit one of the top 10 zoos in the country, a chance to see things you can't see anywhere else. It now also offers this, 250 acres of undeveloped land. Land organizers feel is a prime area for the county's first betting track. They are now accepting proposals from developers for construction and operation of what they hope to call Lincoln Park Downs. Officials with the Zoological Society began acquiring the land in April. The area is located north of the zoo and is bordered by Interstate 35 and Interstate 44.
We found that there was considerable land for sale, and we found others willing to sell, and we were able to put the amount of land that we needed for the project together.
A preliminary study indicates Lincoln Park Downs could handle $58 million the first year of operation. By 1990, the figure could jump to almost $86 million handled. Officials say the monetary benefits would be followed by employment opportunities.
It's about time for us to get an attraction here. People may have their qualms about racing, but with this goes an awful lot of jobs, and that makes me happy.
Organizers say the main aim is to bolster the zoo's economy. Now, the first step has been taken, and now it's up to a legitimate developer to make Lincoln Park Downs a reality. Kevin Ogle, News 4.
It's been analyzed as dinosaur droppings by regular geologists, And you can find it all over Colorado, and depending on what minerals replace the droppings, it has a lot of different color in it.
He's in here like this, okay? You've got that, your friends with me to help you. Take that step like that. Were you all at the, okay?
We want to take pictures of it. You put me on the news, now tell me the truth.
This type of program that we're involved in is called a predictive maintenance program. Other utilities and other companies have done this in the past, but what we're the first to do is to automate it.
Oh, I think we're probably going to strike.
Think so?
Looks like we're going to, yeah.
Oh, I think we'll all be back Monday.
You think you'll be back Monday?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. I'm heard it's pretty close on both sides.
I think they're going to come to terms. If we have one, it'll be a shorty.
We were told earlier in the day that we were on the hot seat, and so I go with that assumption that Oklahoma City is going to continue on the hot seat. If they continue with the Apache strikes, we may be out in the near future, the next week or so.
Edmond residents have been on an odd-even water rationing plan since July 24th. The plan was renewed a month later in an effort to keep the Edmond system from going dry. The city's 40 water wells were pumping 15 million gallons a day and simply couldn't handle the load. 7 of the wells broke down. But since the rationing plan, consumption has been cut back 10% in Edmond. City officials feel it's time to lift the water rationing restriction.
Since our demand is about 12 million gallons a day, we felt we could go ahead and lift the rationing ban. We had to contact several citizens regarding violations, but no citations were issued.
Edmond officials plan to drill 2 more wells this year. Those same officials hope the additional pumps will keep the water gauge needles bouncing as the city continues to grow. Kevin Ogle, News 4, Edmond.
I think it's going to be a very close vote. I think whoever wins will probably not win by more than about 50,000 votes. I think the momentum has been building for our side over the past 2 or 3 weeks, and I feel very confident that we're going to come out ahead when the vote's finished tomorrow night.
In June, the Oklahoma Is OK Committee announced publicly they would fight to the end the liquor by the drink proposal. They were led by the editor of the Baptist Messenger, Dick McCartney. They shaped their philosophy around the drunk driving issue and spent over $350,000 to get the point across. When their watch party began last night, the group was confident. They knew the race would be close, but were counting on their traditional stronghold to pull them through. But somewhere in the night something went wrong, and rural Oklahoma couldn't keep up with the large metropolitan areas. The Oklahoma Is OK Committee was beaten, and they knew it.
I can't see where a majority of 3 or 4% should cause us to say, well, we lost this one, we're going to give up. No.
Marlon Hawkins believes the complexity of the state's population has changed since the last liquor by the drink vote. He says more out-of-state arrivals to Oklahoma made the difference last night. But his group plans to carry on the fight.
No, we'll be there in there battling even harder in the county elections. We feel like probably we'll be hit in Oklahoma and Tulsa County first. And we plan to be out there and trying again to get our message across.
Last night, officials here had strongly considered the possibility of challenging the final voting figures. This morning things have changed and they probably will not do so. But you can bet they'll be watching those figures closely again when the vote comes up on the county option plan. Kevin Ogle, News 4.